What up, people? Welcome to the Doing Everything Different podcast. I'm your host, Devin Lars. And today we have a really cool topic and a really cool guest that we wanted to bring on. I think it's such an interesting time in terms of understanding and navigating your career, trying to find your passion, trying to figure out, maybe what is next for you, understanding, not just entrepreneurship, but, navigating your entire career and whatever that looks like for you. And so super excited today to have Madelyn Mackie of Madelyn Mackie and Associates based out of Oakland, California, who is the Chief Career Activator and Career Coach. And I really wanted to have her on this episode to just kind of talk about the stuff that she sees in terms of helping people take their career to the next level, talk a little bit about her journey. And so really excited about this episode and to dive in. So Madelyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin. I'm so excited to be here to talk to your listeners about how you can activate your career dreams in today's job market.
I love that. And thank you for, I recorded in the last episode that we had some technical issues. And so I appreciate your willingness to be able to reschedule multiple times. And so excited to, dive in and talk about this. And so I guess starting from the beginning, how did you get into kind of this space and looking at, helping people with their careers?
This is my favorite question because it took me 40 years to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. My first career, I am a published biochemistry researcher. I wrote a paper on the intercalation of an H2-type porphin with a 1A, 2A, 3A prime DNA molecule. I'm sure everybody listening has read it.
Right.
Right? And after I wrote that first paper, my mentors and advisors looked at me and they said, wow, this is amazing. What are you going to do next? And I looked at all those people and said, not this. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. My true passion was the stage. But everybody kept saying, you'll never make a living at theater. You're going to be waiting on tables and sleeping on your parents' couch for the rest of your life. I had a lot of dream crushers in my life. And so I was a stubborn and naive 20-year-old, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to go do it anyway. And I spent the next 15 years working at professional theaters all across the country, including 4 Tony Award-winning theaters. And what people don't realize in theater is that you get laid off every 8 weeks. A show opens, a show closes, you're done. A show opens, show closes, you're done. Show opens, show closes, you're done. And because it was just a part of the cycle for me, and everybody I knew had to go through this cycle, looking for a job was no big deal. The emotion was taken out of it because we had to do it so routinely. So since I'm a linear thinker, it's why I was good in chemistry. I created a system and a process and templates and scripts. So I really didn't have to think about the job search. I just did what my timeline and my to-do list told me to do. And I had the scripts and the templates to do it. Well, I always found work for 15 years. And my theater friends were like, how do you always find your next job? And I was like, oh, let me show you my system. And they would find jobs. So it became more of a side hustle, this resume writing, career coaching thing. I didn't even know what to call it. And after 15 years in theater, I got a little burnt out. And at the time, I was a volunteer for the American Red Cross, and I was able to convince them to hire me as a program manager. Within 18 months, they promoted me to an officer position. And people started to always ask me, how did I go from the lab to the stage to the C-suite of an international nonprofit? And I would show them this system that I had created back in my theater days. And one day my phone rang and someone said, hi, I understand you're a career coach. Will you help me find a job? And I was like, I'm a what? They said, you're a career coach. How much do you charge? And that day, Madelyn Mackie and Associates was born. We have now been in business for 10 years. I am a certified career management coach. I'm a nationally certified online profile expert, and I'm a LinkedIn top resume writing voice. So we've been doing this for a while now.
That's amazing. It's so funny, the people that I've been talking to on the podcast, a lot of the situations and how they got to where they were was by accident. It was something completely random that came up. And like you said, I'm a what? A career goal. That's what I am. Okay, cool. Let's figure it out. And so I think that that's really cool to just kind of allow things to opportunities to show up and kind of present themselves. That's awesome. I love that. What have you seen over it is an interesting job market right now. And I know over since that first person, reached out and said to help, how it's evolved and changed, over the course of the years. And even just in the last, 2, 3 years, I mean, even pre 2019, before COVID, how have you been seeing things change? Has that changed the landscape of like that approach that you kind of put together originally? I know it's probably takes some evolutions and evolved over the years, but what are you seeing in terms of the job market currently?
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing in the job market is I tell my clients don't pay attention to the news, right? The news is going up and down about the
Mm-hmm.
job market, and it makes you feel like, oh, I'll never get a job. And that's not true. Companies are always hiring. In the 10 plus years I've been doing this, people are always able to find a job. Even
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, when everyone was getting laid off, people were still able to find a job. But you're finding their jobs through their network. Your network is your most powerful, powerful, powerful tool in your job search. And the biggest difference that I've seen over the years is there's a lot more tools available to expand your network, to keep in touch with your network, to create a new network. And yes, I'm talking about social media. I'm talking about Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok. There's just a lot more vehicles to get your brand out there, but that also means there's a lot more noise. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you rise above the noise so that your network sees you and wants to engage with you?
Love that. Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think this is, I'm excited about this conversation because I think that from how you have seen people go and apply and approach that, and then also from the lens of receiving resumes from our agency and being able to hire, like I'm interested to see kind of the perspective of how to stand out with that and how to use these vehicles as platforms, because I'm seeing a lot more people create more personal content. And I am seeing a lot of opportunities from that because they are taking their specialty in whatever they're doing and putting it online, and that creates opportunities.
Exactly. They're elevating their brand. And I think that's the big buzzword that is a lot more popular today of what is your professional brand. It used
Mm,
to be brands were only for corporations, right? Fortune 500 companies. But these days, every single person has a brand, and that brand has to be consistent. A few years ago, we saw a lot of people getting in trouble because their resume said one thing, and then companies would go look at their social media campaigns and their social media profiles and see that they were saying something different, and they
mm,
weren't in agreement whether what they were sharing on their personal life was not in agreement with the values of a company. And so it wasn't your resume that was getting you eliminated from a job. It was what you were posting on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that they were using to eliminate you from consideration. So I think job seekers and even entrepreneurs now, we have to be very careful about the brand that we're putting out there, because everything you do now can be captured digitally and posted, even if you don't want it to be posted. And through the magic of a Google search, people can find that information. Back in my day, and I'm going to age myself here a little bit, I used to apply for jobs with a typewriter. You'd write your resume on a typewriter and you'd send it out. And we didn't have those things that people could look you up online to find out about you. They just had that one resume to look
mm,
at. And then they'd call you in for an interview to find out more about you. Well, they don't need to call you for an interview to find out all about you. They can go look at your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page. They can look at your references on LinkedIn. They can look at the people you know on LinkedIn and call those people up without ever bringing you in on an interview. So
mm.
bottom line for everyone is, hey, we got to clean up our digital profiles. We got to make sure our brand is consistent, and we have to be more thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
about what information about ourselves we're allowing to be put out into the universe. Because once it's out there and you can't pull it back.
That's a huge point. So do most people that are hiring, do they do that search and look on social media? I think most people don't realize even how much people do their research before they even rather respond to you or reach back out to you.
Yeah, some of these recruiting platforms, because think about your social media platforms. 90% of them are connected to your email, right?
Right.
You log into all of them with your email. So if that's the same email you're using in your job search, then some of the technology that's out there can then scan all the social media platforms for a profile with that email. We even see it on LinkedIn where they say, upload your contacts based on the email, and we'll go find their profiles and we'll send them an invitation to connect. So it's all connected. It's not that they have to do a deep search. All they have to do is open up their one system and all the information is there.
That's crazy. I think people don't really realize that. And whatever you, like you said, whatever you post on social, it's going to be used against you at some point.
Yeah. And you have no control over that. And people, these things, back in the early days of the internet, people were just putting anything online. I remember I searched for myself. So that's a tip for everyone listening. Google yourself. Google your name, first name and last name. Google your first name and last name with the city you grew up in. Google your high school, your college, alma mater, all of those things with your name. I Googled my name with my high school, and my prom pictures were there.
Wow.
And it's because the school yearbook got translated and put online. And so there they were, as me from the 80s with my big hair and my blue eyeshadow and a big poofy prom dress. And I was like, oh, no. I have a professional image to maintain. Get this out of here.
That is funny. Is there anything that people could do, like if they see something that they don't like, to get it removed? Or what is that process like? I don't know if you help with that.
Yeah, I don't help with that. There are agencies and companies that will help you kind of do some of that cleanup work. But, the only way you can do it is you have to poke the lion. The person who posted it, you have to go and reach out to them and say, hey, I would prefer you not post that. So I remember when I first joined Facebook, everybody was putting up pictures where they knew me from. And I had to go to some people and say, take that one. That's a memory between you and I.
Right,
we don't need to share that with the entire world. Thank you very much.
Right.
So you really have to be careful with that. And even sometimes you just never know. You're at an event. A lot of times, we're practicing our First Amendment rights. So you're out there protesting for whatever issue you want to protest with. Some of those issues that you are protesting or standing with are not in alignment with the companies you're going to be applying to. And hey, that's okay. You just have to know you're going to be filtered out for some of your beliefs. And there's nothing wrong with having your values and being who you are. But if you're like, I'm looking for a job, but I'm all about, I'm out here with Greenpeace saying protect the whales, you're not going to get a job at Chevron. And you're like, well, I don't want a job at Chevron. Okay, then. But that's kind of what you have to be thinking about all the time. And it's not just, well, I'm just doing a job search right now. We've seen people get fired for what they have posted online. Because, right, people post something, they don't agree with something, someone else post and repost it and will tag their employer because they can find your employer because they look you up on LinkedIn and say, is this the kind of person you're hired that you work with that's on your team? And they've lost their jobs. So you just got to be careful.
Can companies legally do that?
They've done it.
Interesting.
They've done it.
On the grounds of what?
This is not in California, we're an at-will state. Right? So, but on the grounds of this person is not within an alignment of our company values, and their services are no longer needed with us. They no longer work with us. So It is a fine line, but it can happen. It has happened. Like we think about the TV star, right? Think about the TV star Roseanne Barr. She made a comment about Condoleezza Rice on Twitter, and Black Twitter replied, tagged her employer.
True.
And she lost her job.
We've seen it a lot. That's true. That's interesting. And it's the reality of stuff. Even though if people don't agree with it, you don't think it's fair, you don't think all this stuff, that's great. But it's the reality of what it is. And so you have to be mindful of, like you said, the circumstances and what could happen potentially based on what you post and the content.
Exactly. It's just be mindful. I love how you said that. We're not telling you not to share your opinions. We're saying be mindful. We're saying be aware. You can't delete sometimes when these things go out, you can't delete them. So you just want to make sure that whatever you're putting out, you're okay with and that you can stand behind, because the rent is due every 4 weeks and you need to get paid.
That is facts, and it comes quick. I feel like it's coming quicker now. I don't know, for some reason. And so that's funny. And the crazy part about it is you never know what's going to go viral too. You post something and then people screenshot it, and even though you delete it, it's still it's still out there.
Right? They can download it.
Yep.
They can screen capture it.
Yep.
So yeah, no, you have to be really careful about what you say. But you and I can talk about anything today on our podcast.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think so it's funny. I've been seeing a trend on TikTok, and it was like a couple people were like applying to, I don't know. It was like, oh, I've applied for the last like 5 months to 700 jobs or something and got no response or anything like that. You know, you're seeing a lot of, you know, people saying that. What are some things that you can see that can make people stand out? Like, what are some approaches or tactics of like, so you don't just fall into, you know, into another number and are invisible in the application process? Right.
Yep. We talk about the black hole of the job search. People need to kind of understand how candidates are ranked. Right now, there's 4 rankings that I'm seeing in the market. Number 1, companies are downsizing, right? So they've got a pool of employees that they have laid off from the company. And those employees, some of them want to get back into the company. So the first criteria is they're hiring internally, right? They're either promoting from those that are already in the company or those that have been recently let go. They're reorganizing them within. And it's going to be really hard for you to usurp those candidates that are internal already. The second group is the employee referrals. So those that are being referred for the position by people that already work at the company. And the company highly, highly values those referrals to the point of they will even pay their employees for doing that. One company I know was paying them $5,000 and 2 round-trip tickets to anywhere in the world for a successful referral. That would have been my part-time job if I worked at that company.
Literally.
All the time. Every month I would have been posting, who wants to come work at this company? Send me your resume. I'll pay to have it rewritten so that you can get a job here and I can get another plane ticket.
That's crazy.
Right? So employee referrals, and companies want to honor that employee referral for 2 reasons. Number 1, the employee took the time to do this. So we want to respect the employee's time. But number 2, studies have proven that the best hires are from employee referrals because the employee knows our culture, our values, our work ethic, and they know their people who have the same values and culture and work ethic. So that's the next line. And then the next one is the recruiter referrals. Companies hire recruiters. They pay recruiters to give them a talent pool to look through so that they don't have to do the search. So they want to honor the recruiter's time. And then finally, the 4th category is the blind application. So you got to get through all that noise. So again, it comes back to, are you leveraging your network? Are you reaching out to people that work at that company that you know and that you do not know to say, hey, I'm going to be applying for this role at your organization. I'm looking forward to speaking with you about it. I'm applying for a role at your organization. Could you submit me on Friday as an internal referral so that you can earn the referral bonus? And you have to do that heavy lifting. I had one executive assistant I was working with, and we had her reach out to the recruiters, the people she knew, and she figured out who the CEO was, because that's not a hidden thing. She reached out to the CEO on LinkedIn and said, hey, I see that you're looking for a new executive assistant. I'm submitting my materials for the role. I hope I get a chance to talk to you in the interview. That's all she said. Well, the CEO looked at her profile, messaged her back and said, would you like to talk tomorrow? And she's like, sure. So she goes and talks to the CEO. They go to lunch. They have multiple meetings. He takes her on a tour of the company. He says, yeah, I think this is going to work. While she's sitting talking to him during one of their meetings, she looks at her phone and gets a message. It's from the company saying, thank you for your application, but we'll be going in a different direction. She shows it to the CEO. He calls up HR and says, no, she's sitting in my office. I want you to put an offer letter together. HR is like, what are you doing interviewing candidates when we haven't even finished screening the process? But he's the CEO.
Right.
And the humans override the computers every single time. When we're talking about resumes, people are always asking me about keyword optimizations and the applicant tracking systems. And how do you beat the machines? You beat the machines with a human being. And you need to be spending 80% of your time in your job search talking to people, going to networking events, connecting with the hiring community on LinkedIn so that you are in the front of the line before the opportunity is posted.
Love that. So it's interesting because I didn't even think about that because we're a smaller company, right? So like when you think about these larger companies and how they have these 4 different levels of all this stuff, it makes sense. So when you're just coming in, just sending a cold application, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
We're seeing a 1% return rate right now, a 1% return rate when you're applying online. And here's a message for your listeners. I posted a job online. My company was hiring a customer success manager, and I posted the job on LinkedIn. I got 50 applications, and I did not interview a single one. And I'll be very honest, I ghosted all 50. Why? Because they did not read the job application and follow the instructions. So if you're not going to take the time where the instructions said clearly to apply for this job, send a cover letter that explains what customer success means to you and a grammatically correct resume to Madelyn at madelynmackie.com. Like, I spelled it out. And every single one of you used the LinkedIn quick apply button that sent me your LinkedIn profile and a generic resume without a cover letter, and then you're mad because I ghosted you? Well, you know what? You made me mad because I had to look at all 50 applications that didn't follow instructions. So come on, people. We all got to do better.
100%. I saw a video on TikTok of somebody complaining when companies do that, and they said that they're playing games. And it's so interesting of how mindset and how you approach things and how you look at stuff will determine the opportunities that you get. Because if you're looking at it from that perspective of like, oh, these companies are playing games, then it's like you're going to lose versus like looking at, okay, how can I stand out? I think, again, same thing. We have hired successfully multiple people from Indeed. We'll post something on Indeed and get 200 plus applicants and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, you have to pause it. You have to turn it off. You're like, oh, hold on. Because most of them will just do that quick apply and all that stuff, and they don't make the effort. And so there were a few people that stood out that made the effort to do that. And that stands out. That puts you a part of, 80, 90% of people that are just applying. So even just something as simple as like, do your research on the company and know a little bit about what the company does, not just apply to all of these things. You have to actually put in that work.
Exactly. Like, why am I sitting here today? Because I was researching podcasts. I found your podcast on LinkedIn. I reached out to you on LinkedIn with your name and said, hey, I've done my career different. To let you know, I listened to your podcast and I said, I've done my career difference. I'd love to share this story with your audience. Can we set up a time? Here's my availability, right? And that's how I'm here with you today. We didn't know each other before today.
And you went to the website and did it too. So it was multiple points of contact. So it was like, I got the message and then Britt, our producer, got the message as well. And it was like, oh, this is perfect. And you 100%, it's like, you have to put in the work if you want something. And then you even have to, when I think about details and I think about hiring or all of those things, it's just like, you want somebody also that's going to follow up too, and just like, if you don't hear anything, like from the first part following up, like you said, those relationships are so important. I mean, the relationships are everything. Everything.
Right. Because when we had our technical glitches, because you and I had a conversation and Britt and I had a conversation, I knew you were good people. It was just life happens. Yeah. And so you reschedule, you make it work. You're patient. I think that's another skill that I want to share with job seekers and even small business owners. You have to be patient, because I know we think that the number one thing they're going to be doing is looking to fill this position. So why haven't they called me yet? The job's been posted for 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Why haven't they called me yet? They're playing games. No, I'm doing my business. We're working on our strategic plan. We're executing our strategic plan. We're talking to our customers. We're putting out fires. We're updating our website. We're dealing with technical challenges. Hiring someone is like 3% of my week. It's a very small amount of time I spend on hiring and recruiting, because 97% of my time I'm working on my business. So and even if we're talking about a Fortune 500 company that has an HR team or recruiting team, still, some of those talent acquisition specialists and recruiters will have 30, 60, 90 job recs on their desk. So you have to be patient, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who have a say in who gets hired. And all of those voices need to be heard. Sometimes all of those people need to be doing interviews. All those people need to read your resume. So you have to be patient. You have to follow up. You have to be kind. I had a few that I was like, oh, maybe I'll interview these people, but they weren't kind when they reached out to me, and they were like, I guess you're not interested since I'm highly qualified, but you haven't called me. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to call you if you're going to have that tone.
Attitude, perspective, and how you approach stuff is and then empathy, right? Like understanding, like things come up, and like you said, it's so important. Attitude is so important. I mean, I talk about that, and when I hire, and I've made it a big philosophy that I will, if there are two people, one that is more talented and one that plays better, like a team effort and has a better perspective and attitude and mindset and all that stuff, I will pick that person all day, just because of just like culturally, we want to, like, those things, the skills can be taught and kind of elevated and brought to life, but that like empathy, the kindness, and all of that stuff, it really is kind of hard to teach that when somebody's not that. And so I think it messes up the culture when you have these, like, you know, these attitudes or these different egos involved in the stuff. And so I think it's very important about that, of like, I think that really determines how successful you're going to be, is how well you get along with people and how well your outcome, attitude, and perspective is. I truly believe that.
Absolutely. How I got into the Red Cross is when I applied for the position. Now, I had been in theater for 15 years, and HR called me and they said, you know, Madelyn, we looked at your resume. You don't have any experience in grant management, volunteer management, program management, government relations, community preparedness, business continuity, fundraising, and any of the skills required for this job. But because 8 people walked your resume into my office, including the CEO, because I knew all those people, let's schedule an interview. And after I went into the interview with a 12-month plan to help them meet their goals, like I had a PowerPoint and everything, so I prepared for it to explain to them how I was going to help them reach their goals for the program that I would be the program manager for. Even after that, HR and the CEO had a conversation about me and about my lack of qualifications, even though I had some great ideas, and there were other people that were highly more qualified. He said, you know what, though? I can't teach them a passion and a love for our organization where they love it so much that they come in with a 12-month plan on how to help us achieve our goals. So I know she doesn't have all the skills we need, but we can train her because we've got some of the best people in the country in those categories. We can train her, but I can't train all those other people on how to have a love and a passion for our mission and for our clients. So we're going to make the offer to Madelyn. So that goes to building the relationship and really putting in the time and the effort to learn about the company and how you can help them. A lot of people think the job search and the interviews is all about you. It's not about you. It's about this organization that has this problem. They need a social media content manager to increase engagement. They need a software developer to help them fix the bugs that's in their mobile app. They need a partnership relationship manager to help them get new partners so they can get $1 million grant. How are you going to help them solve their problem? That's where you need to kind of approach this whole job search thing of not what they can do for me. I need them to pay me. I need them to let me work from home. I need them to do this, that, and the other. No, how am I going to help them solve their problem? And if you go from that approach and you prepare for your interviews from that approach of, I'm going to show them how I can help them solve their biggest problems, that's also going to bring you above everybody else that's going to say, well, you should hire me because I'm a great leader.
Very true. You brought up a good point. And I think that I want to go a little deeper on it in terms of like applying for positions that you don't have experience for, but you know you can do it. And I think that translates for everybody, right? So like I even think as an agency, we've been able to like, how do we get projects that we haven't really done yet, but I know that we can do it, but how do you get that first person to take a chance on you? So let's break that down a little bit more of like what people can do and when is the right time to apply for something that they may not have the experience for. Because I get a lot of people that are coming fresh out of college that are like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't have any experience. And so that actually, they won't even apply for the job because they're like, oh, I have no experience, so there's no way that I will get this job. What are some tools, tactics, and other ways that they can go about that?
All right, we're going to go back to the number one tactic of your network, right? Okay. So you need to be talking to people at that company about how do you do this job? What is the culture like? What tools do they have? You need to go to the company's website. You need to do your research. That's tool number 2 of getting an understanding of what they have done in the past. What are the tools and resources they have to do that job? Sometimes it's in the job description. So you need to analyze that job description. I tell all my clients, print out the job description, highlight the things you know how to do in green, highlight the things you need to learn in yellow. And here's the thing, those things in yellow, that gap analysis you've done of the things you don't know how to do, some of them you can learn on a 30-minute YouTube video. Like, it's not that big of a gap once you realize, oh, it's not a degree they want. They just want someone to understand this particular tool. Well, let me go learn that tool. And see, I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't want to spend time doing that because I may not get the job. Learning is never lost, right? Learning a new skill is only going to make you more valuable. So if you see a job that you've done this exercise, you printed it out, you highlighted the things you know how to do in green, those are the things you want to make sure you explain in your resume. Do not put things on your resume that are not relevant to the job you're applying to, which means, are you going to have a separate resume for every single job you apply to? Yes, you will. The things you highlighted in yellow, then create a professional development plan and start learning some of those things, especially the quick and easy wins that you can just watch by reading an article or watching a YouTube video. I've learned so much through YouTube University. And then finally, working with your network of saying, can you help me get my foot in the door at this company? Can you explain to me what is the best way to approach something like this? And then when I write a cover letter, and see, that's another thing, people don't want to write those cover letters. I explain in the cover letter, not why you should hire me, but here's how I'm going to solve your problem. Here's a 3-point plan to solve your problem. And I'd like to talk to you more in depth about this during the interview process. And I may even reach out to the hiring manager and say, I saw you were hiring for this role. Here's some resources that might help you solve that problem in the meantime. See, I've learned that if you help enough people get what they need, you will find enough people to help you get what you need. So see, it's a lot harder because it requires more effort. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do the effort unless I'm going to get paid. And my thing is, if you want to get paid, you got to do the effort.
That's incredible. I mean, thinking about from somebody, like from a hiring perspective, if somebody did that I could feel the internal piece of when you're saying that, because I'm like, oh, damn, like if somebody did it, it would just make it so easy to just say yes. And I listened to about what you said about people not wanting to do the effort. It was something, it was like, that's like somebody going in front of the fireplace and wanting heat before you put the wood and light the fire.
Yes.
It's like the heat comes from the result of doing the work first, and you have to do that action in order to get it. And so when you put it in that perspective, it sounds crazy. Like, I want the heat, but I don't want to put the wood in and light the fire. It's like, that doesn't make sense. And I think what's so interesting now is it could just be a little bit of effort is going to put you above 80% of people, because most people don't put the effort in. So it's just a small thing that you have to do.
Right.
So
You don't have
small.
to write out the whole strategic plan. You just can go in and say, here are 3 resources to
Right.
help you achieve this goal. And with tools like Canva and PowerPoint and the internet, and let's be honest, artificial intelligence,
Yep.
chat
ChatGPT.
GPT, and all the other things, you can quickly write up something
Yep.
that will demonstrate, here's how I would approach it. Let's talk more. That's exactly what I did for the Red Cross. I had screenshots of how we were going to do preparedness night at all of the stadiums, the sports stadiums, and in the schools and at movie theaters. And it was some Photoshop things that I did. I took the Red Cross logo or pictures from their website and I put it in these 3 different environments and said, this is how you're going to prepare 1 million people. And I took the stuff from their website of their 3 steps of preparedness and said, here's how we're going to market the 3 steps of preparedness. And it's exactly what you said. The CEO was like, no one else has done this. No one else has shown me how they're going to do it. This is great. I love this. Let's hire you so you can flush out these ideas to make it an actionable plan. But just like you said, it was no more than 10 PowerPoint slides,
Yeah.
and that's what got me the job.
So what do you, because then people always say too, because I'm sure you probably get this, well, what if they just take my ideas? I don't want to do that and then take my ideas and then just run with it. That's something I hear all the time. If somebody worried about that.
All the time. I don't worry about that.
Right.
If they do, great, fine, go ahead. Was it that great of an idea that you needed to take it and run with it? Fine, go ahead. But honestly, if you do it the right way, they're going to need you to execute those great ideas because they have a gap in their workforce. They don't have the time to figure it out, which is why they want to hire you. And, chances are if you decide I'm not going to do that, you're not going to get the job. Point blank. Because you know why? There's going to be some other candidate that is going to do the PowerPoint, that is going to do the case study, that is going to break it down step by step for them and show it to them and get the job. But I've rarely seen a situation where they've taken something that a candidate gave in an interview and then expanded on it and made it their full multi-million-dollar campaign. I have never seen that, even though I know someone will say, I've seen it done.
Right. I know everybody's always going to say that.
Right? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to worry about how am I going to get the next job? How am I going to get the next contract?
It's just so crazy of how it translates also into business and entrepreneurship, right? Like I posted something around, there was something that said, sorry, I can't get paid, or no, sorry, I can't do free work. I need to get paid, something like that.
Exposure,
and so I was like,
right? I don't work for exposure. I work to get paid.
Right. And I tell people that's how we've gotten the biggest accounts of our lives has been doing free work first to get in the door, to be able to do that. Because how else are you going to get in the door? You're competing with these big companies. And if you're just going to say like, oh, you need to pay me to do it, it's like you're going to get overlooked. And so you need to do a certain amount of things for free to be able to show your value. Because my whole concept is, and how we've been able to build our businesses, if you provide enough value, people will keep you around and they'll tell your friends.
Yes.
And, and so that is the biggest thing, is just provide value up front and don't like worry about like what you said. So I really like what you said of like, don't talk about what I need, but like, how can you help the company? I think that is what that is essentially.
Mm-hmm. That's all it is. I started writing resumes for free, volunteer work. And here's the thing. It was an exchange. I would say if I write your resume, I'm trying to build a business, so I need samples for my website. So if I write your resume, I'm going to be putting it up on my website. I'm going to need a testimonial from you, and I'd like a referral to 3 people within your network. And I'm going to pick the 3 people because I'm going to go look at your LinkedIn profile, see who you know, and ask for you to introduce me to those individuals.
Love that.
So, right? So I am getting something in return. But this is why we've got to slow down and really think about the relationship and make it a win-win for both parties, right? You need something from me that I have, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, you need something and I can give you that service. Now let me take a look at who you are. Who do you know? What are your connections in the world? And how I can say, great, I'll help you out. And here's what I need for you to do. Now, it doesn't always have to be I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back. Sometimes I just put good things out in the world. And I cannot tell you the biggest contract I have ever landed. Like I'm talking a 6-figure contract that I have had now for over 9 years. came from me doing a free resume consultation when I said, you know what? I can just fix this right now. And I literally redid her resume while she was on the free consultation. I said, you don't need to purchase the services. Here you go. She sent me a link to an RFP for one of the counties. I applied for that RFP, and I've been working for them for 10 years on a 6-figure contract because I spent 30 minutes writing somebody's resume.
It's so powerful because most people don't want to do it.
Right?
And when you do that, think about how that would make you feel. Right. So like if you were on a call and somebody did that for you, you're going to be like, I need to pay this person back because they just really helped me.
Right.
And if you just put that out of like, how would I want to feel in this situation? It works every single time. Cause I could contest to that too. Our biggest accounts came from doing stuff for free up front.
Yep. But building relationships. From now on, think of your career, your business. I'm going to build great relationships with good people. And I promise you good things will come to you. I
put a quote on Instagram: relationships will open up doors money can't. You know, you can have all the money in the world. And it's like, you can't pay to open up that door, but relationships will open up that door. And it's so true.
So true. I love that. I got to go find that quote from you on Instagram and share that.
I'll send it to you. No, this is awesome. You dropped so much stuff. I mean, even just from, so many. I love the like printing out the stuff, the job description and the roles, and then highlighting it in the different colors and then being able to go and learn all that stuff. I think that's a very practical way that you can do that to set it up. And I could tell you have a wealth of knowledge in terms of how I get why you were always able to get a job. It makes sense of how you're able to bring the value. How can people find you if they need support and help? Because I know that this is something that, people need support with for sure. And I feel like you definitely can help and support some of the listeners.
Absolutely. So you can go directly to my website, www.madelynmackie.com. That's MadelynMackie.com. Or you can look me up on LinkedIn, same spelling of the name, and follow me there or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram and I have a Facebook page, but just reach out to me directly. We would love to talk to you about how we can help you activate your career dreams.
I love it. And last thing before we go, that's curious. So you have about 13,000 followers on LinkedIn. What is your strategy and how you've been able to do that? Because that's impressive. I think people don't really understand the power of LinkedIn. Right?
So for me, how I built that audience is every single time I came in touch with a new person, I would reach out to connect with them on LinkedIn. So when I would teach a class, I would tell my students, hey, everybody connect with me. I'd go to a conference, and back in the day when we all would come home with stacks of business cards, I would connect with everyone on LinkedIn. Also, I'm a speaker. So whenever I speak, the very last slide is a QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn. So for me and my business, I've picked one social media platform, LinkedIn, and have always pushed the interaction with every single person I meet towards LinkedIn. So every client, every vendor, every employee, even my fellow resume writers, because people were like, I don't want to connect with the competition. They're going to see all my secrets. There is enough work out there for all of us. So I went through the National Resume Writers Directory and connected with all my fellow resume writers. Anyone I've been in a class with, I connected to. And today, I'm a LinkedIn top voice. I have over 13,000 followers. Yep. And LinkedIn is the pipeline for new clients. I get new clients from LinkedIn every single day. So pick one social media platform and go all in on that one, and you are going to see results in no time.
Yeah, and LinkedIn is so powerful. I mean, so powerful. People underestimate it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate this and everything all the gems that you dropped. We'll link the links and everything in the show notes in the description to make sure people can find you. But really appreciate your advice and tips. It was very actionable, practical, and something that people can apply now that I guarantee if they do that, they'll definitely see results. Because as a person, hiring and looking at resumes and all that stuff, 100%, those tactics, I would be blown away, and they would for sure get an interview and a call back.
There we go. Well, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. And I was happy to share how I did my career just a little bit different than the rest of the world.
I love it. Thank you.